Okay, I think we'll go ahead and start our Discover session. So welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us for today's Discover session featuring Carnegie Mellon's pre-college programs, computational biology, and summer session. Our Discover sessions are an opportunity to learn more about pre-college programs and our application process on a high level, our student affairs, structure, and activities, so really what happens outside of the academic classroom, and then a chance to hear more about the academic programs that we are featuring tonight. That again will be computational biology and summer session. So quickly, let me introduce you to our presenters tonight. I am Marjorie Dawkins. I'm the Associate Director of Pre-College Enrollment Management. And then we have Meg Pryor, the Assistant Director of Pre-College Student Affairs. And then from CompBio, we have Dr. Josh Kangas. There we go, waving there. And then from summer session, Dr. Jillian Ryan. So as we move through our agenda, you're going to see that on the screen, and questions pop into your mind, please just type them into the Q&A Zoom feature. We will either answer them in the Zoom Q&A Zoom feature, or we'll hold them until the end of the discussion. So let's begin with an overview of pre-college programs. You will hear us refer to the Office of Pre-College Programs. That's the team that manages the enrollment, the logistics, and the student affairs portions of the programming. So Meg and I are part of that team. And then each specific academic program is run by one or more program directors, and they manage the academic portion or the curriculum of the programming. So looking at pre-college programs as a whole, we offer 12 academic programs. All of them offer scholarships, and most of them are offered in both residential and commuter options. That is true for both summer session and CompBio here tonight. Our programs will vary in length from 3 to 6 weeks, depending on the program. Summer session is a 6-week program, and computational biology is a 4-week program. And we will enroll about 800 students from around the country and in fact from around the globe. So we are not a small part of the CMU community. In the summer, we take over campus. It's quite fun. A couple of requirements, and these are some important things to note. We do require you to be at least 16 years of age at the time of the program, so by June 21, 2025. And we do require our students to be rising 11th or 12th graders, so juniors or seniors during the summer of 2025, during the programming. So that means that if you are filling out an application right now, you ought to be a sophomore or a junior. So briefly, I'm going to run through our other programs so you are aware. If you have specific questions about these other programs, please reach out to me after this presentation. So we have AI Scholars, Architecture, Art, Computational Biology, CS Scholars, Design, Drama, Music, National High School Game Academy, Summer Academy for Math and Science, Summer Session, and Writing and Culture. Again, if you have questions about these programs, please reach out to me after this presentation. So I'm going to stop sharing now, and we're going to listen to Josh talk about CompBio.
All right, we see my screen? Okay. All right, so Josh Kangas, I'm one of the co-instructors for the computational biology program. I am teaching faculty in the computational biology department, which is in the School of Computer Science. So our program is a 4-week program running from June 21st to July 19th. And we always have a great time. This is a picture from last summer. It's a good group of kids. Okay. My co-teacher, Philip Campo, he's not available to be here tonight. He's also teaching faculty in the computational biology department. And we kind of split the experience between us for the entire program. And we'll go into that a little bit here in a moment. So I wanted to start off with talking about who we're looking for this program. And so there are 3 major conditions that we're looking for. And our expectation is that you can reflect this in your application packet for us. So first of all, we're looking for people who really love science. and but specifically people who love biology. So if you can express a clear interest in science and biology specifically, that will be very helpful in your application, and we think you'll have a good time in our program. We are looking for students who are good at math, and we will do a ton of programming, but you don't need to have any coding experience whatsoever. We will provide you with some materials to help you get started if you've never done any coding before. But we want you to be successful, and one of the best indicators that we have of your success in the program is how well you do in math courses or the quantitative part of the PSAT or any other standardized tests. So no programming experience required, but definitely show us you're good at math. And we're also looking for people who are willing to tackle new challenges. So the strategy that we take is we push really hard to challenge our students in ways that they probably never thought of before. And that we want you to see as a fun process. And so we want to know that you're willing to tackle new challenges. If you're interested, we have scholarships that are available for socioeconomically underrepresented students. We are always interested in students to fill these slots. They're full pay scholarships that cover both the tuition and room and board. As far as the goals of our program, we have them listed out here. So the first part is that we want you to have a fun, active learning experience. And so there are a couple aspects to this. As far as fun goes, we think there's a lot of fun in the challenges that we're going to pose to you and the topics that we're going to cover. And in order to maximize that fun, we want to take some of the pressure off. So we do not offer credit for this course, which means that you don't have to think about exams, you don't have to think about much homework. You just have to focus on learning within the classroom experiences that we're going to provide you, but expect that they're going to be pretty challenging and you're going to be actively involved in those activities that we're running. Some of you will be coming with programming experience, and some of you will not. And our expectation is that you're going to become a much more confident programmer by the end of this, because we're doing a lot of programming where we're covering some very sophisticated algorithms. We also want you to appreciate the ubiquity of computation in biology. And if you look at modern biological research, particularly like the papers that come out that have many, many different authors on them, what you'll always see as of late is that there's going to be a substantial computational component to those papers where someone is doing a lot of programming to try to understand the data and model whatever processes they're working on. And we want you to see that computation touches many different parts of biological research, and appreciate that. We also think that it's important that you see that the quality of data that you generate affects the kinds of computation you can do. And so in order to show you that, we're going to actually run real experiments and generate our own biological data and then analyze those data in the classroom. And so you'll have firsthand experience with all steps of that. You're going to write code to allow you to analyze the biological data that we generate. So we're going to look at a lot of sequencing data, meaning we have A, C's, T's, and G's describing the bacteria that we're going to be looking at, and you're going to write algorithms to try to understand what's going on in different environments by looking at genetic data. We'll also do some machine learning, and we'll also do some robotics work where you'll control robots for actually running experiments. And then finally, we want to challenge you to learn something that's completely new to you. So we're going to talk about algorithms that you have almost certainly never seen before. And if you've seen them, you may have seen them in the context of tools that are available for computational biology research. So we're going to teach you like what's underneath those tools. How are the algorithms working under those tools to solve these complex problems? And part of the purpose of that is to demystify computational biology so that you can see that you're capable of giving useful contributions to the field of computational biology going forward. I mentioned that there's no coding experience required, and that's because we'll provide you with a coding boot camp before you come to the program. And so we'll give that to you well in advance of the program and provide a schedule for completing uh, the individual lessons within this program. And then by the time you get here, you'll be ready to hit the ground running. So we won't have to talk about how do we define variables or other really basic things for programming. On day one, we'll be able to start to tackle these complex problems that are so interesting. On the first day of the program, we're going to start out with a scientific voyage of some type. In years past, we've gone out on this boat, which is the Rivers of Steel scientific vessel. And we take this boat out and we've traveled along the three rivers of Pittsburgh and scooped up water so we can look at the bacteria content in the water, among other things that are in the water. So we're going to start out with some kind of voyage. It may be a boat trip, it may be a trip to a local park that has some interesting water features, or maybe both. We're still working on details there. But fundamentally, we're going to be doing some kind of field trip to collect samples. And half of the day that you're going to spend with us, you're going to be in a hackathon environment where Philip is going to provide you with the background for solving important problems and kind of help set up the framework that you need computationally to understand how to solve those problems. And then you're going to solve them in small groups. And there'll be test data that allow you to confirm that your algorithms are working. And then in the other half of the day, you're going to spend that in the lab with me, where we'll be running lots of different experiments that allow us to generate the data that we'll look at either in the lab in some context, or we'll look at in the hackathon setting. As far as the active learning classroom goes, this is a really important aspect of the way we run this course. So active learning is this idea that you create an environment where students are actively engaged in the learning process. They're forced to think about what they're doing and talk about what they're doing and engage with the content, as opposed to us just lecturing to you. Right? So we set up this environment, and from a research perspective, it's been found that this is very beneficial for students in STEM courses. But what ends up happening is that sometimes these students feel like they're not actually learning that much. So this second paper on the right is basically a research project where they were looking at how students feel that they learn versus how they actually learn in different contexts. So in an active learning classroom, students will often feel that they're not learning that much, but when you test them afterwards, you'll find that they've learned more than they would have in a typical classroom. And that feeling, that kind of uncomfortable feeling, is basically you learning. And so we're going to drive towards that very hard. So it's going to be challenging. It may be uncomfortable at times in terms of what you're learning, but you're going to learn a lot. As far as the major topics that we cover, so we don't right now have individualized research projects, but we have one large class topic that we tackle from an experimental perspective, and that's looking at the different water sources within Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has an industrial history, and we will get water samples from different parts of the rivers to try to understand the difference between different locations in the city in terms of their bacteria content. We will also look at water from Boyce Park, and Boyce Park has mines under the park where these mines fill up with water and the water becomes very acidified, and then this acid mine drainage comes out of these mines and can be very hazardous to the environment. So what has happened in this park is the state has set up these ponds that provide different environments that allow for the processing of this water to make it safe. So we'll take samples of these different weird environments that are probably not like anything you've ever seen if you're not familiar with these acid mine ponds. So we'll get samples of those, look at the bacteria in them as well. We'll also look at SARS-CoV-2. So we'll be looking at the genome as well as the individual proteins that are encoded within that genome and try to figure out what these are doing. And we can also look at the ways that this virus has mutated over time and try to relate that to its provenance and sources over time. We'll also do an automated science experiment. So automated science is this process of using automation to run experiments. And that's been a big advancement in the last 20 years where we can use robots to run experiments more quickly. But nowadays, pharmaceutical companies are very interested in using AI to drive these robots. So we'll actually use an AI-driven process to uh, build predictive models using machine learning. So this self-driving instruments is this idea that we can use robotics to generate data, use machine learning to understand and interpret those data, and then use AI to choose the next experiment that you're going to run. And you might say, well, can AI actually make decisions for what experiment to run next? Ultimately, you can. So if you think about the game Battleship, Battleship is a turn-based game where you're taking in information about the game board, you're making some decision about that game board, building kind of a mental model for it, and then choosing the next spot you're going to shoot. So you can frame algorithms in a similar way that takes in all the information that you know so far, and then you can ask the robot to run the next most interesting experiment. So we'll have a module that's focused on automated science as well. We'll be looking at growth versus no growth of bacteria under different conditions. We have a few frequently asked questions that I want to cover before we wrap up my part of this. So we don't require standardized tests, but they might be useful for your application if you include them, particularly if you want to tell us about your math background. Recommendation letters should come from any of these people. So teachers, research advisors, counselors are all good. We already talked about commuters and the age. I mentioned college credit, so we don't offer credit, but that enables us to have the flexibility to really push hard on the content that we do teach. As far as acceptance rate, we're approximately around 60%. And there was a question that was posed in the registration about whether we adjust the course to skill level. We don't do a lot of adjustment in the actual content, but the way we structure the groups that you'll work with is very much aware of your relative skill level compared to your peers. We build these very diverse groups where we have a mixture of people who come from a more biological background and people who have a more computational background. And this set of diverse teams ends up being very good for learning for all the students involved. And I think that's what I wanted to cover for the frequently asked questions. So we hope to see you in 2025. You should apply. And the early deadline is February 1st, and then the scholarship deadline is March 1st. And so we hope to see as many applications as we can.
Thank you, Josh. Jillian, can you tell us a bit about summer session?
Sure. Thank you, Marjorie. I hope everyone can see my screen now. Great. So my name is Jillian Ryan. I'm an associate teaching professor in our Department of Physics here at Carnegie Mellon, and I serve as the academic program director for summer session. Summer session is a little bit different than some of the other programs that we offer in pre-college. And before we kind of go any further, I just want to show you where you can find more information about it. So if you go to our main pre-college website and you open up the menu on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll get links to all of the different programs. You can link to summer session and find more information about this program there. And I really want to emphasize the difference between summer session and the other pre-college programs is really that you are effectively in college. So unlike the computational biology program where you're not taking courses for credit, this is a program where you explicitly are taking courses for credit. And so students come to us and they enroll in typically 2 courses. Our summer session runs for 6 weeks. So you're taking the equivalent of a course that's taught during our fall or spring semester, normally over 14 weeks, and you're taking it in 6 weeks, which is why we limit you to 2 courses, because 2 courses is a full-time job. Students who are a good fit for this program are students who are excited about taking that next step from their high school experience towards university level courses, who are up for the challenge of managing their time. Unlike in most high school scenarios, in college classes, you have a lot more agency in how you're spending your time, both in terms of how often you're studying, when you're getting up in the morning, and things like that. So students who are prepared to take on the responsibility to really be in charge of their studies can really benefit from this opportunity to dig into coursework. And I'll talk about some of the classes we offer in a moment, but we really don't discriminate by subject. So if you're a student who's thinking you're really interested in STEM classes, we have lots of STEM classes, but we also offer classes, for example, in psychology or philosophy or accounting. And so there's a lot of options that really allow students to tailor their program to their interest. Now, how does this work, right? You come and you enroll in this class or 2 classes at a time, which is a full-time workload, often over 40 hours a week by the time you count for all the time you spend reading your books and doing your homework, as well as attending class. Well, you're going to earn university credit through these courses. So you'll note when you kind of eventually see course listings on our website that we have different numbers of units for courses, which are indications of the amount of work. So we tend to use units instead of, for example, credits. So the typical course might be 9 to 12 units, which is comparable to a 3 to 4 credit course at a lot of other universities. So you'd be earning university level credit. You will receive a transcript with evidence that you've earned that credit for CMU coursework. And again, this is the same coursework that our undergraduates complete during the academic year. And in fact, you might be sitting in classrooms alongside undergraduate students. So you get to choose your courses based on your interests. The schedule that you'll deal with is 2 courses maximum. And if you're a commuting student, we do allow commuting students. Commuting students are allowed to take 1 class only, but if you're a residential student, we do require you to take 2. You're going to do the exact same coursework. You're going to attend the same lectures, do the same problem sets, exams, and tests that our current undergraduate students complete. And you're going to be held to the same academic expectations and standards as our undergraduate students. So you're going to be learning from instructors who often teach the same classes here during the regular academic year, earning the same credit, doing the same work. And at the end of the program, you'll receive grades and a transcript from CMU indicating that you've completed the coursework. And should you come to CMU for a later degree, that would be credit you could count towards your degree, but it also is transferable to a lot of other institutions on a case-by-case basis. So this is something that you might be able to take to a future undergraduate experience elsewhere as transfer credit. So how does this compare to, a typical semester? I think the biggest difference is really the timing. Our normal sort of, for example, fall or spring semester is 14 weeks. Summer session is 6. And that means that your courses are going to be taught at an accelerated pace relative to a typical semester. So that means that, again, those 2 courses are going to be a full-time job. But it also means that you get to really dig into those topics in order to really kind of investigate the things that you're interested in. Because we recognize that for a lot of our students, this is the first time they've done anything like this, and we have this accelerated pace, we do have a grade forgiveness policy. And so what this means is if a student is in good academic standing, so they attend class when they're supposed to, they complete their coursework in good faith, they behave with integrity in every way in their courses, our grade forgiveness policy allows students to remove low grades from their transcript. So there's no penalty for not doing well in courses, provided students are operating within our student conduct. So that removes some of the pressure for students to feel like they need to really kind of push themselves to the limit in these courses. And it gives an opportunity for students to explore an area that they haven't maybe thought about before, or take a class that they might not have offered at their high school, or an area where they're just not sure what coursework would be. They can try that out without long-term ramifications on their transcript. And I just want to say that we do have a pretty supportive group of students and faculty on campus who are here to advise and provide support for students. Classes typically meet 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. So it is pretty intense, but the instructors hold regular office hours. There's often teaching assistants providing office hours and help. And our Student Academic Success Center is wonderful and provides opportunities, for example, for tutoring for students who want that extra edge to perform well in their courses. In terms of the courses that we offer, they really do span the whole university. Although I'm from the Department of Physics, we offer courses from a number of colleges across campus, and these offerings change a little bit year to year based on what the departments can provide. So rather than coming into a session where, example, I'd be running all of your meetings, you're attending classes from the different departments. And this is a selection of courses we've seen in recent years. So for example, we have classes from the Department of Biology, from chemistry, from business, from computer science, from mathematics, physics, engineering, English, philosophy, psychology, sociology, and more. And we're working with our partners in the academic departments to increase the number of courses that are available for students. These courses typically have either no or low level prereqs. So I understand that for a lot of you, you're thinking, how can I satisfy a prereq? I haven't taken university classes before. We accept AP credit or IB credit for prereqs for some of these courses if needed. But there's a large number of courses that don't require any other sort of advanced classwork. And our team will work with you if you're working on proposing kind of a schedule to ensure that the classes that you're selecting are going to be a good fit for your skill and experience level. All right. So how do students do? They tend to do really well in this program on average. We tend to get very highly motivated students who are coming to the program and really leaning into their studies. And we find that their grades tend to be comparable to current undergraduate students on campus. In terms of geographic diversity, every summer we have about 200 students. So Marjorie indicated earlier that we have 800 across all of pre-college. So we're about a quarter of the entire pre-college program, or one of the biggest programs in pre-college. The percentages tend to fluctuate year to year, but we typically see around 10 to 15% of students that are in summer session are local. So their families are in Pittsburgh and they commute to campus daily for their classes. Around a quarter of our students are international in recent years, but the majority of students are coming from across the United States. And we tend to see around 15 to 20% student scholarships in recent years. And historically, our admission rate has been approximately 50% of applicants. So if our program sounds like a fit for you, if you are excited about an opportunity to take classes, to jump in and try on what it's like to be a university student, living in the dorms, taking classes and managing your schedule on a regular basis, pre-college summer session might be a good fit for you. And I hope to see some of you on campus in 2025.
Thank you so much, Jillian. And so now we're going to hear a little bit from Meg about the student life experience, everything outside of the classroom. So let me share the screen. All right, can you see that? Meg, you just prompt me.
Go.
Yeah, just prompt me when you want me to move.
Sure thing. So as Marjorie said, my name is Meg Pryor. I am the Assistant Director for Pre-College Student Affairs. I use she, her pronouns. My job basically is to focus on and support the entire student life side of the pre-college experience at CMU. Marjorie, if you can flip to the next slide. So what I look at in from my position is trying to support sort of the holistic experience that we think is a unique and valuable opportunity as this of the CMU pre-college program, which is to offer students a test drive of the undergraduate experience, which includes the student life side. For most of our students, that involves a residential aspect, but for our commuter students as well, we work really hard to support the student life side of that. Part of what we do in the student life aspect is we offer opportunities for students to explore both the Pittsburgh area and southwestern Pennsylvania. So we have off-campus opportunities that are optional for students to sign up for and purchase tickets for. We do a trip to a Pittsburgh Pirates game, which is our professional Major League Baseball team. That's a picture of the park there. It's a really beautiful place to catch a game. It's right near the point of where the three rivers of Pittsburgh meet. We also do a trip to Falling Water, which is about an hour and a half outside of Pittsburgh. It is a home designed by the famous architect Frank Lloyd Wright. One of the first examples of green architecture. It's built into the landscape. It's a really beautiful trip. It's a beautiful a place to visit. Additionally, pre-college students are provided with a bus pass, which allows free access to our Pittsburgh regional transit bus system. And the student ID comes with what's called an arts pass, which gives free access to many local attractions and museums. So we really do encourage students to take advantage of the opportunities to explore while figuring out what Jillian and I think Josh both mentioned, which is a really important aspect of the pre-college program, which is time management. Making sure that academics come first, but that you are allowing yourself to have the full opportunity that's given to you. Next slide, please, Marjorie. I supervise a staff of around 60 undergraduate CMU students, and these students serve in the roles of either community advisors, which there is one per dormitory. We use 4 dorms in the summer, and then we have a number of residential advisors and senior residential advisors who reside in the dormitories with students, providing 24/7 support. We as a team work collaboratively to deliver a robust and holistic student experience. I work really diligently with our staff. They receive almost a 2-week training before students arrive. And we work really hard to make sure that we are providing activities and opportunities for students to participate in outside of the classroom. These activities are optional, but it is our hope that students participate in as many activities as they can manage to fit into their schedule to help prepare students for their future studies by learning how to manage time inside and outside of the classroom. And we want to allow as many opportunities as possible for students to meet other students outside of the program to which they've been admitted. Our residential students are housed in dorms that are typically used for freshman students at Carnegie Mellon. All the dorms that we use are air conditioned, and we aim to pair our residential pre-college students with a roommate from their same program. We find this to be helpful in just managing schedules, finding your way around campus. But we do make an effort to make sure that the buildings and the floors of those buildings represent a wide and diverse mix of other programs so that, as I mentioned, students have an opportunity to meet, make connections, build friendships, and build community with students outside of their own programs. Next slide, please, Marjorie. Pre-college residential students all students have the opportunity to participate in some on-campus events as well as some student clubs and programmings. So the picture there of the fireworks, we do a really fun, beautiful, professional fireworks celebration on July 4th. Excuse me, which is open not just to our pre-college students, but to the CMU population in general and the local community. So it ends up being a really, really fun evening. We work with RAs to make sure that we are offering social events, both floor events, building events, and just community campus-wide events, as well as student clubs, which RAs do some planning for and promoting and facilitating of, but we also encourage students when they come, if you find other students that have similar interests, we encourage and help support clubs. We try to mirror these clubs to kind of match what the undergraduate club experience would be. So they are sort of low level of commitment. They meet weekly, and we have had clubs that cover every possible interest that you can imagine. We've had crafts, we've had D&D, we've had, you can see volleyball here. We've had a popular one. I think this RA might be graduating, so I don't know whether he'll be back, but he has for the past couple summers, excuse me, run an ethics and engineering club, which has been wildly popular. Everything that you can possibly imagine. So as I said, we really, really try to provide as many opportunities as we can for students to be able to pursue similar interests with other students, build connections, make friendships, while I will say this, I think, I don't know, this may be the third, fourth, or fifth time I've said this, while managing their academics, because academics will be the crux of what students are here for, but we do want students to build a full experience to get a sample of what the undergraduate experience is like. Next slide, please, Marjorie. Students in our pre-college program have access to most of the resources that our undergraduate students have access to, which also helps to support this endeavor. Jillian mentioned Student Academic Success Center, which is an excellent resource, which we encourage our RAs to encourage our pre-college students to take advantage of, because no matter what situation students are coming from, they most often find that this is leveling up big time. And Student Academic Success Center can offer tutoring. They can offer they will do an examination of your study habits and help you take a new look at how you might organize your time. Like I said, study habits. CAPS, which is our counseling and professional and counseling and psychological services, offers consultations for students who might be struggling with any mental health issues. Excuse me, University Health Services is available for student health issues. We have the Center for Diversity and Inclusion, many athletic facilities for working out, staying physically healthy, study spaces across campus, and many more. We really encourage our RAs to be knowledgeable about the resources that they can point students to, and we really want students to take advantage of the opportunities that are available to help support the success of this program. This is a fun picture here on the left of your screen. The gentleman in the glasses in the back is Farnham. He is the president of CMU, and these are some pre-college students from last summer and some RAs from last summer that ran into him at a local Rite Aid. You also have the experience to just be in the community and meeting people all across the CMU campus, and you never know who you're going to run into. I just want to finish up by saying that I don't get to meet face to face with every one of the nearly 800 students that that come to our campus, but I really, really love my job. I love being able to make connections with, helping to support and guide and mentor students that come, as well as my undergraduate students that work on my residential staff. And I really am proud of what we offer here, which is an opportunity to experience much more than excellent high-level classroom learning, which Jillian and Josh both are at the helm of providing. But our goal is to provide an opportunity to test drive the entire undergraduate experience, not only if you end up hopefully at CMU, but to prepare students for what they might expect when they start undergraduate studies at whatever university they end up at.
Thank you, Meg. We cannot guarantee that you're going to meet the CMU president, though. So just,
no, that was very random, but he's very friendly and it was very fun.
Okay, so I will just going to do a little presentation on some very important details. So our application is open. It's been open since mid-November, and it is online. You can find a link on our website. And as you've probably gathered from the earlier presentations, we very intentionally are mimicking the undergraduate, the university experience. So the college application is, we do the same there as well. You will be required to submit high school transcripts, 9th grade on. You will be required to submit essays, 1 or more. We also require recommendations, 1 or more. That process is done entirely online. You will provide contact information for your reference, and we will reach out via our system. Portfolios could be required depending on the program. That would not be the case for summer session or comp bio, but if you select another one or you have another program as your second choice. Optionally, you can submit standardized test scores, so ACTs, SATs. Please understand that if you do not choose to submit them, you will not be penalized. So that really just use your discretion on that. There is an optional section for extracurricular activities. And so it is optional, but I really do highly recommend that you complete that section. It is a great way for us to get to know you, to see what your passions are, how you're spending your time now. And then if you are applying for a scholarship, we will ask you to supply some limited household information and then documentation of the financial status of the home. All of the materials will need to be uploaded into the online system, including your recommendations, to even be able to submit the application. So you'll want to plan ahead. So I'll review our program dates. Our opening day is June 21st. That is a Saturday, so you need to be 16 by that date. And then that weekend is filled with opening weekend activities and orientation activities. So you'll get to know your program and students and your RAs and CAs better. That's an exciting, very full weekend. Then classes will start on June 23rd. That's the Monday. Then, of course, we have staggered end dates depending on the length of your program. Comp Bio, the last day of class will be July 18th. And then summer session, the last day of class is August 1st. And then you will need to move out of the residential halls if you're a residential student that following Saturday. I do want to encourage you that if you are thinking about our program, it is best to expect to stay throughout that Friday. Summer session can have exams, and it is announced while you're here at the program, and you need to plan to be here so that you can participate in your final exam because you want to finish strong, right? And Comp Bio has some great presentations and activities, and you're going to want to say goodbye to your friends. So the 2 application deadlines that you need to be aware of. So February 1st is our first deadline. That is for any international applications. And then we also, this is also considered our early decision deadline. Now, this is not binding as it can be at the undergraduate level. So if you get an offer of admittance, you are not bound to that. But it is our way of prompting you to get your application in. Our programs are popular. And if we have a full class roster and we have a robust waiting list, we will close the application for more applicants for just because really we don't want you to be spending the money on the application fee and the time that it takes. We know that our application requires some effort, so we don't want to be misleading. If there's no room in the program, we will close the application. So I would aim for that early decision deadline if you're really serious at a shot at a spot. We have never closed a program before that deadline. So that is my suggestion to you, is be thinking about that February 1st deadline, if at all possible. Then March 1st is our final deadline. It's also our scholarship deadline. So I cannot accept any more applications on March 2nd. So you want to get it in by March 1st at the very latest. After submission, you're going to want to check your email regularly and check your applicant status portal for status updates. Any decisions will be posted to your portal, and an email will also be sent. Sometimes the emails get stuck in spam, so that's why I suggest kind of checking both of those. So you are aware, if you are applying for a non-scholarship spot, so non-scholarship, those decisions are released on a rolling basis. If you are applying for a scholarship, all of those decisions are released on April 4th. So we take a look at the full scholarship pool, how many scholarships we can award, and we make all those decisions after considering all of the scholarship applications, and then we release those decisions all on April 4th. If you are offered admittance or are waitlisted, you will have 7 days to reply to the offer. You do that through your applicant status portal on a reply form, and then pay any enrollment deposit if that is required. So on the screen, you can see some contact information. All the presenters here, and just our general office contact. I'm going to pop this information into the chat if you want to grab that and keep that as a reference. But then I think we are going to stop sharing my screen, and we will just open it up for Q&A. I know we do have some questions. Why don't we start as a large group? And if we really get into the weeds with some more program-specific questions, then we can break out into breakout rooms. But I think, why don't we see if we can answer them as a group, if everyone is okay with that? Okay. Meg, would you be able to start reading off those?
Yeah, so we had a question that Jillian, I'm not sure whether you have an answer for, but what percentage of universities accept the credits taken at CMU pre-college summer sessions?
I can't give a percentage, because what's going to happen is each university is going to evaluate the course that you take to determine if it transfers to them for credit. If you do well in a course, that increases the odds, because some schools have minimum grade requirements for transfers. But one of the things that if you come and you participate in pre-college summer session, you'll get a lot of emails from me reminding you to save, for example, the syllabus and the course catalog information so that you later can submit that information to other universities for examination for transfer credit.
Marjorie, I think you spoke to this, but I wasn't sure if there's any difference for early decision. Someone asked, when would we know if we got admitted if we submit our application early decision?
So that is on a rolling basis. So we get the decisions out as soon as we're able, but it really depends on the volume, because literally we can turn around and suddenly have 200 applications overnight. So we do work through them in the order in which they were submitted, but I can't really give you a hard deadline on when you're going to get a response. That's not the answer people want to hear, actually. Okay. But we do, and I'll tell you why. I will tell you why. Is because we want to give thoughtful consideration. Applications are read at least twice, and we want to be thoughtful about, are you a good fit? We want you to be successful in our program, so we do not rush through this application process. Good or bad, that's how it is.
So we have a question, if scholarships cover the full cost of the program?
So we will cover housing, dining, all, the program. So yes, all but travel, you've got to get yourself here.
Josh, for you, what's the daily homework load for a comp bio class throughout the session, and how many students are accepted into the comp bio class?
So as far as daily homework, we don't have daily homework per se. We assign students to work in groups on final projects that they'll give presentations on. Those projects are going to vary in terms of how much students put into them, but no one has ever complained about them, and the projects have ended up being pretty cool. So I think it's probably not a ton of work, but I think it's valuable work. In terms of the number of students, we're targeting 100 students for this cycle. And that probably sounds like a lot, and it kind of is a lot. But what we do is we split the course into 2 groups. So one group will be with Philip in the morning and be with me in the morning, and the other group will be with me in the morning, and then we'll swap. All right. So So the classroom size that you'll be in would be approximately 50 students or so at any given time. And we move students around throughout the 4 weeks. So you get to spend time with everyone, and you'll all get, all the students will have lots of time with Philip and me and the TAs.
I'm not sure whether this is Jillian or Josh or both. Should students prepare for the coursework before the start of the program, i.e. a Khan Academy, like Khan Academy?
So from my perspective, I don't think that's necessary to do work other than what we provide. So we'll provide the programming for lovers course materials to prepare you. You should definitely do those. But beyond that, we don't push for a lot of extra work.
I would echo that for summer session. With the caveat that, you know, if you've been accepted, we believe you are going to be successful in our program. We've seen something in your application, but you are going to need to come in and, for example, take notes and do all of the things in classes to ensure you're learning. And so I think tools like Khan Academy can be really helpful, but they don't replace class time. And so if you're coming in and going to all your class meetings and making use of the resources available to you, there's no need to study ahead of time.
We have a question here that I'd like to answer. It's, can you apply to summer session and computational biology, and how does that work? So in our application, you can list 3 program choices. And so you could list Comp Bio as first, summer session as second. We will consider them in the order in which you list them. So make sure you are thoughtful about which you are putting as first or second. So yes, but you will need to list them in order. If you get offered admittance to the first choice, the application stops there. It won't get considered by the second or third choice. So, do you have any?
Jillian, I imagine that the answer to this is varies from professor to professor, but we have a question. How much percentage does the final cover on your overall grade in summer session?
Yeah, that's going to vary course by course. Yeah. And some of our courses may not have final exams. They may have final projects. But those that do have final learning experiences of any sort, you can expect that it would be a non-insignificant component of your grade. So for example, final grades, final exams, they will range maybe on the order of maybe 20 to 40% of a final grade, depending on the course. And unfortunately, we aren't able to give you fixed numbers because individual instructors have discretion to determine what's appropriate for their course. They would provide the syllabus on the first day of classes, so students would get that information no later than the first day of classes.
And then for you again, Jillian, does grade forgiveness remove the lowest assignment grade or the overall grade?
So it can remove the entire grade. So our default is that if you earn an A or a B, we assume you want to keep that. And if your final grade is below a C or lower, and you've, again, behaved with integrity and done sort of all the things that we expect you to do to engage in your courses, then our default is that we would remove grades of C or lower from your transcript. But if you decided you really wanted to keep those grades, there's a window of opportunity for you to contact us and we would put them back on your transcript.
Can I ask a quick question of Josh? Josh, what about if I've gone through Comp Bio, would you give me a reference or a letter of recommendation? Do you do that for students?
So the way we structure the work, it's all group work. And so it's very difficult to give an individual assessment for each student. So we don't give individualized letters, but what we do provide is a letter that describes everything that you did in the program. And it's very common for students to include those in their college applications going forward.
Okay. And then I have a question that I think will be for me to answer. Someone's asking sort of if a program is full at the time of the application, how would you know? What happens if you've got 3 choices. So I'm looking at the application on a daily basis to see where we are, how full our class is, how robust the wait list is. When I see that we're getting, close, I'm in touch with the team, and I'm saying, I think we need to start considering closing this on, like, let's give it 3 more days. When we get to that point, I am sending out emails to everyone we're going to use CompBio as an example. If you have CompBio as a first, second, or third choice, I am emailing out in advance to say, we will be closing the program. We are going to be full very soon. So I do make sure that there is warning. And then you have an opportunity too to adjust your choices as well. So that happens. That is how we handle that. If you ever have any questions about that, you can feel free to email me, and I will tell you where we're at, whether I'll be honest with you and transparent. If I think that there's plenty of room still, feel free to reach out to me for guidance on issues like that. And I think did we get all the questions?
I think, Jillian, if you can answer, if grades are removed, do students lose credits?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
you can't have credits without a grade.
Yeah. The way you get credit is by showing that you've demonstrated mastery of the content, which is reflected by a grade. So if the grade's removed, there's no credit. But at the same side, kind of thinking about this, if you feel the grade isn't reflective of your potential, you can remove it to not have that negatively impact future studies.
Oh, looks like that's it, Meg. Am I missing anything?
No, that's all from the chat or Q&A. People are welcome to still type something in or unmute and ask a question, but that's all that we had. Oh, that's a thank you. That's not a question. That's a thank you. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. So with that, I think we will close for the night. We are we're right on time, so good for us. Let me first thank Jillian and Josh and Meg for joining us this evening to talk about our programming. You can tell we love what we do. We love high school students, and we're interested in CMU and all of our activities here. So I think you will find this is an enthusiastic place to spend your summer. So on behalf of us, to all of the students, parents, guardians who joined us, thank you for spending this time with us today. And what we really hope is that you're considering to spend next summer with us. That's what we're really hoping for. So please reach out if you have any questions. And with that, I will say good night. Good night, everyone.
We hope to see you in the summer. Good night.